The United States just announced a massive trade deal between the US and the UK, and this, of course, has sent shockwaves through the market, sending Bitcoin to over $101,000. So is it too late to buy or sell? Did you miss out on all of the opportunity under 75K? Let me show you. Avalanche up 11%, Polygon up 12%, XRP up 5%. Everything is green on the markets today. And what we're going to be focusing on is the Fear and Greed Index, which currently is sitting at 71. It's been so long since Bitcoin was at $100,000 that my monitor got literally dusty. Now, on FOMO.io, I'm going to show you guys the historical crypto Fear and Greed Index chart. This allows us to look at the price of Bitcoin in comparison to the Fear and Greed Index over time. So you can see when, of course, Bitcoin was at its bottom in July of 2022, the Fear and Greed Index was red, which means it was at maximum fear at least a 20 or under. And when Bitcoin first ran up to 75K or $106,000, greed was at a max ratio of 80 or higher, which is why it would be bright blue. Which is why I want to zoom in a little bit to pretty much just the last 6 months. Since November 5th, when Donald Trump won the presidential election, we ran up to $106,000 and had a massive fear ratio on the markets for about 3 months with the tariff wars. But what you'll notice is just like back when we first saw the election cycle, green and blue, high greed territory, we are witnessing the same exact process play out today. You can see fear maxed out, extreme fear at 75K Bitcoin. We screamed it from the rooftop here on Discover Crypto's channel. Buy, buy, buy. When everybody was fearful at 72K, 73K, 75K, the Fear and Greed Index was showing a buy indicator. So if we go to the next tab and adjust the time frame to 1 year, it will simplify the Fear and Greed Index way more. So what I want to look at, here was the double bottom on the Fear and Greed Index. I want to look at the last time Bitcoin broke out, which was when Bitcoin was at $57,000 on September 5th. Of course, the last time we saw Bitcoin dip before the massive breakout up all the way to $106,000 from 57K. We can use this historical indicator to expect a similar market sentiment shift with the recent breakout today, which in this case would be from September 5th to mid-December. We saw upside or greed trekking upward in a trend, which for Bitcoin caused roughly a 105% increase over the time span of about 3 months. Now, I'm not a crazy hopium bull, but if Bitcoin were to follow that same market sentiment shift and we were to see the same percentage value gain that we saw from September to mid-December, you would be looking at a price point of anywhere between $170,000 and $180,000 Bitcoin by, of course, the end of July. Now, to splash some cold water on that, I do not believe we're going to see 180K by the end of the summer. And I would love to be wrong. Please prove me wrong. But what I would be following here is going to be also the RSI and the stochastic. When we broke out on that Fear and Greed Index to the upside on that fear trajectory to that $106,000 price point the first time, the stochastic had way more energy to lift to that upside direction. Where you can see here on the weekly today, the stochastic is already coming back into a positive direction. Yes, the MACD is rolling over, but this would mean that I would expect you to see an overextended position on the RSI, on the MACD, and the stochastic at a much lower ratio, whether that be $120,000 to $130,000. Either way, the market sentiment on the weekly is shifting dramatically. We saw 2 House Reserve Bitcoin strategic bills pass through 2 different states, Arizona and, of course, New Hampshire. And there's another 37 on the doctorate. So it is only going to see more adoption. We're seeing historical trade deals be negotiated across the scale. The US-UK relation opened up, of course, a trade deal happening in Canada because everything Canada was standing on, essentially, with their steel manufacturing, was thrown out the window with Stramer. So now we're going to expect better trade deals, more negotiations, potentially the Fed's pivoting now in July. We don't know if they'll do it in June. It seems like they are literally holding a lot longer than expected, even though the European Central Bank, the China Central Bank, every single central bank is cutting besides the United States at this moment. I don't know if that's politically motivated or not. You can let me know in the comments. But it does look like this tariff war is not only ending, but ending up to be pretty positive for the overall market conditions. And sentiment is shifting. People are starting to feel a lot more positive. And again, the last time we saw that positivity shift was in September of 2024, leading all the way up into mid-December, for a 3-month upside period in Bitcoin's price action. So to me, this seems like sell in May and walk away might not be the best play this month. It may be actually looking to sell in July and look to the sky. I don't know what the rhyme there is for it. But we have a lot more potential upside on the weekly potential. Now, that does not mean up only, because if you look at the daily, the stochastic may have more room to run, but the RSI is starting to become an oversold territory, overbought territory. We could see some sideways action on the daily and watch liquidations be abolished. Which luckily, if you're using FOMO.io, you can go to the liquidation heat map and check out the liquidation charts on the 12-hour all the way up to the yearly. We're going to look at the 24-hour time frame, and you'll notice liquidations are open up heavily towards $99,000 all the way down towards 94K. Now, there is a futures gap all the way to 91K. So be cognizant, or just be aware, I guess you'd say, of the $91,000 level, as liquidations usually do see a follow to the futures market. But we do have plenty of liquidity starting to open up above us. But that daily shows bears being completely wrecked. And while we do see more short positions piling in, which is causing a short squeeze to the upside, most of their liquidity dries up around that $106,000 level. So I would not be shocked if you saw, of course, market makers, the large movers of this market, dump Bitcoin to wipe some of these short positions, because where most of these exchanges make the most amount of money is going to be based off the liquidations within the market. And there is tons of liquidity down to 95K. So what you need to see really happen is, obviously, I'm not entering trades at this upside. If you're going to be trading those longs, you would want a short squeeze to continue to pressure those positions up. So that way, of course, the liquidations start to balance out. The 7-day time frame, we are definitely overextended to the upside right now. So while I would love to see it push to 106K, we'd want to start to see some consolidation to watch that leverage start to float out, minimize, elevate, balance before that next move to 120 or 110. But let me know your guys' summer price predictions for Bitcoin in the comments below. Do you believe we're going to see 120K, 140K? There is price predictions of 180K and higher by July this year. What I would say you want to watch out for are your macro indicators. Is the Fed going to pivot? If the Feds decide that they're going to pivot in June, you're going to see massive upside in these market conditions as liquidity becomes easier. But as it stands, Bitcoin simply looks like it is following the M2 money supply. And if that takes place on the daily or the weekly time scale, we might get a pullback to 91K if you're lucky. But we are looking at definitely a positive sentiment in these markets, which I believe will coincide with higher highs on Bitcoin's price. Either way, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, guys, because we'll be going live on Discover Crypto every single day, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. to keep you up to date.